First of all, you should never hit down on a golf ball, ever. If you heave your arms and club up there and you allow your arms to drop, it's going to go down. It's not going to go up. So all you have to do when you drop your arms is counterfall and turn, and the club is going to come right down to the back of the ball.
Golf Smarter, number 709, is brought to you by Autoslash.com, the completely free service that saves users up to 30% on their next car rental. Just make sure that when you register, you have every one of your special membership codes and frequent flyer numbers so that they can track that extra savings that comes with those programs. So whether you're renting a car for business or pleasure, make sure you track it and save with Autoslash.com. More on Gravity Golf with the creator and former PGA Tour pro, David Lee.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, David.
Thank you. Nice to see you, and looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, we are looking at each other on video, but this is going to be a conversation that everybody can eavesdrop on. Okay. They can hear our phone call. So, David, we just had a couple of weeks where we've talked to your son, Danny, about Gravity Golf. I guess he's running the company now. But he gave us a great overview of the power of Gravity Golf and how it can really help every amateur golfer, every average golfer, high handicap, mid handicap, even low handicap golfers. You want to pick that up a little bit?
I mean, people ask me all the time, what is gravity golf? And my answer is that it is a term that I've put to the golf swing years ago. In fact, in 1976, I was teaching Bill Lane, who was the chairman of Augusta National when I was working at Houston Country Club. Bill was a left-hander, fabulous individual. He was the one that got me to coin the term gravity golf. He said, that's what you should call your system, is gravity golf, because I had explained to him how gravity functions in the swing of various players to reduce their effort in their golf swing. You watch someone like Freddie Couples or Louis Oosthuizen or Jack or Trevino, for older people, hit a golf ball. They don't hit the golf ball. They throw it. And
is that why it looks so effortless?
Well, it looks effortless because gravity is helping it in three different areas of the swing to reduce the effort required to make it. These guys move the golf ball with their mass primarily and not with their muscle. And that's why when you watch Freddie, see, gravity starts his arms down in the swing. Gravity shifts his weight from his rear foot to his back to his front foot right at the completion of his backswing. And momentum and gravity carry him or deflect him into the counterfall, which is the counterfall is when the body, right before the downswing, this is the first move of the downswing, the body moves backwards. Now, it's not a change in spine angle. Actually, the entire tree, if you will, leans backwards, just like if you were going to move a 55-gallon drum full of liquid, it weighs over 500 pounds. If that barrel is standing straight up and down, you can't budge it. But if you take the barrel and tip it to an edge and put the center of mass over an edge, a small child can easily rotate a 500-pound barrel. And the golf swing works exactly the same way. The players who have the easiest swings move further off vertical before they start the downswing. They move off vertical into the counterfall, and then gravity feeds the rotation. Their arms start down in a state of pure deadfall. There is absolutely no arm flex in the downswing whatsoever. The arms are just simply drop, and the core rotation slings the arms. In Freddie's mind, at the top of the backswing, I don't know if he thinks this, but his image of swinging a golf club is that the ball's not on the ground. He's not trying to make a union between the club head and the ball at impact. He's actually, the ball is at the top of his backswing is in the middle of the club face. He just leans back, drops his arms, and turns in a very gentle turn will sling the daylights out of your arms. It's actually Freddie and Jack's golf swing, Louis Oosthuizen's golf swing. All those swings are illegal according to the rules of golf.
Now I'm totally confused.
What?
What do you mean illegal?
Well, if you know any USGA people, they pride themselves on the fact that the USGA rule book, every word in that book, according to them, means exactly what it says. And it says very, very clearly in the rule book, and you can, if you've got one, you can look it up. It says the golf ball must be fairly struck at. And they do not do that at all. Gravity players don't. They just swing the golf club, and the pickup of the ball is totally incidental to the movement. There is no attempt whatsoever to come down and find the ball with a club. In fact, you could put a sack over Jack Nicklaus's head, and he could hit the ball just as well as he does if he's looking at it.
I don't follow why you're picking up those three words, fairly struck at, as making that.
It means that when you draw back, you have to take your arms and try to find the golf ball with a club head. You have to come down. The rule book says you must hit at the ball.
And how would you change that verbiage to make it so what everybody does is legal?
The golf swing should be made with the intent of advancing the ball. That's all you'd have to say.
With the intent of advancing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, but there's no hit in there whatsoever.
Right. It's just advancing the ball.
In fact, from a mechanical standpoint, not to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
When you try to strike at the ball, as soon as you flex your arms in the downswing, the energy flow is partially reversed into the body. That's not my opinion. That's a physics law. What does the third law say? It says for every action, you know what it is.
Opposite and equal reaction.
That's right. And when you start down and you flex your arms, the reaction to that flex comes in the form of a path change. So you actually, when you tighten your arms coming down, the whole path shifts right over the top, what we call over the top. It moves to the outside and changes the path. And a right-hander, it changes the path to the left. So you're either going to hit it offline to the left, or you're going to have to make a compensating move to the path shift. And you can compensate a path shift either through alignment. You can line, 99% of everybody that I see when they come in to see me, they line up to the right of the target. And when they tighten their arms coming down, their path shifts to the left, and now at impact, they're in alignment. But they've made a compensation with an alignment change. They can also compensate a shifting plane by moving the ball back in the stance and picking it up earlier in the path. That will change the alignment to the right. They can open the club face within their grip. They can make all sorts of postural compensations. The human brain is very, very sneaky. You can go, the illustration that I like to use is that you can sit down or you can go to Walmart and sit down at the front door and watch 1,000 people walk through the door, and 990 of them are dysfunctional in one major body part or another. They're dragging a leg, they got a shoulder slumped, they're bent over, they look like hell, and yet they all have one thing in common.
They're walking.
They all manage to get through the door.
Yeah, exactly.
So Like Jeff Goldblum said in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. You can go to any driving range in the world and watch hundreds of people out there, and not one of them looks like Freddie Couples when they swing a golf club, but
No.
they find some way to scrape it from the tee to the green.
Right. Right. No, there's very few that look like Freddie Couples when they swing a golf club.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And we're going to take a quick time out. This episode of the Golf Smarter podcast is brought to you by Autoslash.com. Autoslash is the free service that's going to help you save money on your car rentals. Now, what they do is they invite you to go find the car that you want. They say, listen, whatever car you want to rent, we don't have a problem with that. We're not a rental agency. We're a service that's going to find the best prices for you. And that's what they do. So once you've reserved a car online, then you go to autoslash.com, enter the information on what you've rented. And if you haven't logged in yet for the first time, you need to do that so they have all your coupon codes, all your frequent flyer numbers, any opportunity that you're going to have to save money on these car rentals, they're going to look for that and add to it. And then you'll receive an email sometime on a daily basis to see that you could save up to 30% on the car that you originally ordered. And by the time that you go to pick up your car, you're going to see great savings because the prices change on a regular basis. Now, when I spoke to Jonathan Weinberg, CEO of Autoslash, I asked him, why are you interested in golfers?
Golfers love to travel. Golfers love to play new courses. Getting to and from those courses requires a car in the vast majority of cases. I can't think of too many courses off the top of my head that are accessible by public transportation. And certainly if you're flying into a location, you're going to need to rent a car once you get there in order to get to the course and to carry your bags. If you're playing a course out far afield, you really need a rental car. You need transportation. So we can help folks save just about 100% of the time in those situations. Better to save the money for greens fees or treating your buddies on the 19th hole is what I say.
That's autoslash.com, AUTOSLASH, autoslash.com. David, you frequently hear, these things hit down, the ball will go up, swing easy, the ball will go farther, right? Is this easy swing? Is this what we're talking about? Is getting better contact and more of your, getting your mass, your body behind it?
First of all, you should never hit down on a golf ball, ever. If you heave your arms and club up there and you allow your arms to drop, where's the club going to go? It's going to go down. It's not going to go up. So when you drop all you have to do when you drop your arms is counterfall and turn, and the club is going to come right down to the back of the ball. So there was a second part of that you were asking,
which was swing easy to make the ball to get greater distance. Don't swing hard, swing easier.
Most people, when they start down, the first thing they do is tighten their arms.
Right.
As soon as they tighten their arms, it's just as if they reach back and hooked arms. You ever hook arms with somebody and try to turn?
Yeah, right. It's
impossible. See, the human, right? I can hook arms with anybody in the NFL, and unless they have the presence of mind to lift me off the ground, they can't turn. And I've hooked arms with some huge guys. And they're amazed by the fact that they can't rotate when I'm holding them. The leverage is so powerful when you've got arms hooked. See, plus the fact that most of the muscles in the legs of the human being are longitudinal, not transversal. So a human has a great deal of power doing a squat, very, very limited power rotating. So if you start the downswing and tighten your arms, in effect, you hook arms with yourself. That's why, and you stop your own core mass from freely rotating. Hitting a golf ball properly is all about the number of foot-pounds of energy that are actively rotating when you touch the ball. And the better your arms are in a state of pure deadfall coming down, the easier it is to rotate your mass if you're in an off vertical attitude. you can easily turn. It doesn't take any more effort to hit a golf ball than it looks like when you watch Freddie do it. It really is that easy. And people watch our students. They go, "How in the world can you hit the ball that hard with that little effort?" But it's phenomenal how hard they can hit it with no effort at all. That's the way I measure the golf swing is by the efficiency of movement. How much power comes out of the swing versus the amount of effort that went into making it.
You had mentioned early on about where the name Gravity Golf came from, that he liked this. But back up beyond that, how did you start teaching? When did you realize what it was and how it worked, and then how you advanced from that? Let's get a little history here.
The first gravity swing I ever made was in 1973. And I had played the tour 70, 71, and 72, came off of it at the end of 72, totally frustrated. I grew up with Arnold Palmer, and Arnold was a very good friend of mine. But I grew up with, he was my hero. And during my entire childhood, when I learned, I did not have an instructor when I was a kid. I would go out and thrash at the golf ball with my shoulders and arms as hard as I could swing at it, my golf ball. And I was a very good player in high school. My high school team won the state championship twice. I was captain of my golf team at the University of Arkansas as a freshman. And I played 2 years there. I was beaten one time in college. As captain of the team, I was slow played by the Texas State champion in a dust storm in Lubbock, and he beat me one up on 19 holes.
Wow.
But I grew up going at it with my shoulders. Every shot that I ever hit as a child went out there looking for the first exit in the left rough. I had to play a big hook. When I got on the tour, I used to sit there for hours and watch Trevino and Jack and Tom Weiskopf hit golf balls. They swung with a fraction of the effort that I was using. Their ball had a completely different sound, and it flew as straight as a bullet when they hit it. I would ask them, how in the world do you all get that kind of solidarity on your shots and that kind of ball flight? And they just looked at me and kind of shrugged their shoulders and said, "That's just the way we hit it." I thought, well, you sorry so-and-so, you're not going to tell, but you're not going to tell me. I felt that for a long time. Frank Stranahan, the amateur champion, felt that the pros had a secret that they would never share with him. But the truth of the matter is, because I've had the opportunity to work extensively on Jack and Trevino both, and believe me, it wasn't that they wouldn't tell me, it was they couldn't. They had stumbled into the feeling of moving the golf ball with their mass instead of their muscle, and they had been able to really gear in on the sensation of doing that. Neither one of them have ever been able to effectively teach it to their own kids. So,
wow.
Not to the level that they could feel.
Interesting.
So
you didn't start doing this until after you finished on the tour, though.
I got off the tour. Well, I played again in 77 all that year with a broken hand after I rebuilt my swing. But when I hit my first gravity shot, I had been playing golf for 25 years. I played since I was 4. And I had taken a job in Nashville, Tennessee when I got off the tour in 72. And I had won my sectional PGA championship, and I was playing in 1973. I was going to get to play at Canterbury Country Club in Cleveland, Ohio at the PGA there. And I would go out. I was in the tackle business. I was production manager of a fishing tackle company in Nashville, and called the Zorro Bait Company. Well, I could give you a bunch of stories about that. But you
I'm game.
You don't want to put them on the air, I guarantee. But yeah, that I would go out in the afternoon. Joe Taggart is a good friend of mine, great golf professional from Nashville, and he let me come out to Richland Country Club and practice in the afternoons after I would get off work. And I would stand there and just pound golf balls every afternoon. I had just made a tackle box full of spinner baits for Mickey Mantle, who was one of he was one of my childhood heroes, and until I grew up and got to know him, found out what a mess he was. But I was standing on the driving range that afternoon, and I was talking to a doctor, and I was talking to him about Mickey, and I said, you know, baseball players, when they hit a baseball, they stride into the golf ball. And I stepped up and I actually made a swing where I put my feet together. I stepped to the right. I let my left leg swing over and back. And it was the first time in my life where my core mass beat my shoulders and arms to the ball. When I came down and hit that ball, it came off that club like a bullet, as straight as an arrow. Wasn't even thinking about turning left. And I looked at the ball. I actually thought that somebody else on the range had hit it. And I stepped back and did it again. And there it was again. I could feel every pound in my body go to that golf ball. Now I'm going, holy mackerel. And I got to where I could hit it fantastically with my feet in motion. But when I went back to a normal stance, I couldn't do it. My footwork was too slow. See, in the gravity swing, the weight shift goes over and back while the shoulders go back. The swing is in a 2-1 timing. The weight shift goes 1-2 while the backswing goes 1. Most people swing in a 1-1 timing where the weight goes back with the weight shifts to the right as you go back, and it shifts back to the left as you come down. They don't develop the coil, what Jim McClain calls the X factor. They don't have that separation between their upper and lower body, and they never get their core mass fully to the golf ball. They hit it with the strength of their shoulders and arms. But it took me a good little while before I could actually find the timing within my normal stance to where my weight would flow freely over and back while I was going back. And once I started doing that, I could hit the golf ball incredibly solid from a conventional stance. But initially, I couldn't do it. I had to have my feet in motion.
Yeah, that's the thing that I find so interesting and confusing about it, is that motion. The baseball players stride into the ball. That a field goal kicker, the current day field goal kicker, not the ones when we were growing up and the guy stood behind it and he just took a step and a half and all of a sudden he just straight away. Now they're coming off to the side, the soccer style kickers who are coming off to the side, and you can see that they're putting a lot more of their body, not just their leg, into it. Is this where we're headed?
Absolutely. You can see the counterfall in a rotary place kicker. You can see them land in a right-footed kicker. They land, deflect left. They're actually leaning as they're rotating. If they didn't counterfall, when they swung the weight of their leg around one side of the body, they'd stub their toe in the ground. And that was one of the fastest changes in sport technique in history, was when these little bitty European soccer style kickers came in and were kicking it further and straighter than the big hulking guys like Tom Dempsey and Lou Groza and Blanda, people like that kick with a straightaway kick. The physics of kicking it on the rotation are superior to kicking it down the line, just like they are in putting. So the same.
What do you mean, just like they are in putting?
Well, the best technique, players that swing it on the arc have the best technique from a physics standpoint, like Ben Crenshaw, or more even before him, the greatest putter. You ask all the senior players, the best putter they've ever seen, every one of them will tell you Bobby Locke. And he looked like he was hooking everything. He swung the putter on an arc, and he hit it with the entire mass of his body turning. So the more mass that you have freely moving in rotation at the instant you touch the ball, the softer your touch can be. If your whole core mass is standing still, then you have to shove it down the line with your arms. You have to work much harder to cover an equivalent amount of ground because the foot-pounds of energy are highly diminished when you're putting linear instead of rotary. In fact, this is one reason so many people are yippy.
Oh, interesting. But that's a head thing, isn't it? Doesn't that get in their heads?
No. The yips have nothing to do with they'll get into your head, but the yips are caused by mechanics. I've been doing research on the yips for 45 years. About 3 years ago, I wandered in the desert longer than Moses looking for the cause of the yips, and I finally figured out what caused them about 3 years ago. We're planning a major sportscast this coming summer in conjunction with U.S. Open, and we'll talk about what causes and cures the yips.
Okay, so I guess I don't get the preview of this. You got to wait till the summer of 2020.
I'd be more than happy to tell you what causes the yips. And there's, I never bought, at institutions all over the world, the yips are called, the technical name for them is focal dystonia.
Okay.
And they affect people doing a lot of different things. They affect dart throwers. They affect violin players. They affect you when you get older and your handwriting starts going to hell on you. Your handwriting gets jerky and ugly. I can show you how to make your handwriting go back to being as smooth as it was when you were a child.
Mine never was.
It wasn't smooth? Well, you might have been disconnected from the beginning.
Probably.
See, I'll tell you why I never bought into the fact that the yips or into the statement that the yips were neurological, because Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Lee Trevino, Gary Player, Sam Snead, and Chichi Rodriguez, all of whom I worked with, every one of those players told me, I asked them, I said, in your opinion, what percentage of professional players do you feel have been affected by the yips at one time or another during their careers? Every one of them told me in excess of 75%.
Wow.
And that's a huge percentage. The yips are the most misunderstood or least understood aspect in golf. And people that chili dip their pitch shots or chip shots or blade them, even if they don't realize that or don't feel, if they won't, a lot of people won't admit that they have the yips. They'd rather admit in public that they have hemorrhoids. But they feel like it's something that they don't want to talk about, and they sure don't want their opponents to know that they're yippy.
Sure.
But
sure.
Anytime you see somebody putting cross-handed with a long putter, with their hands split, with a claw grip, every one of those people is fighting the yips.
Yeah.
And has fought with them. They can, if they eliminate the universal joint in their wrist, they can make the yips subside to a degree. But believe me, they always have it hanging in the back of their mind that they're going to feel that flinch at impact. Have you ever had them?
I don't think so. I've not let him get to me.
If you yip a putt, it'll feel like at impact, your hands will just flinch. It'll feel like somebody stuck you with a cattle prod.
Well, I hope I never feel that.
I hope you don't.
I really have a question for you that I might be crossing a line here, but I have a feeling I can do that here with you. What are some of the blatant myths that are going on in golf instruction these days?
Oh, golly. I don't ever like to pick on golf instructors. And the
I'm not picking on anybody specifically. I'm just
I
blanket.
want to predicate this by saying that because, golf is basically, in my opinion, still being taught like it was taught in the Dark Ages. Golf itself goes back to the Dark Ages. It's been around twice as long as our country. So, and by and large, it's still being taught the same way it was taught 500 years ago. The fallacy of golf, people wonder why they can't move freely. The first thing they do when they pick up a golf club is go out and put their body in two triangles. They put their legs in a triangle. They put their upper body in a triangle. What's the most rigid form in geometry?
I'm going to guess is the triangle.
Exactly. We put our body in two triangles and wonder why we can't move. So the way golf is generally being taught, it's taught from a standpoint of a bunch of positions that you need to get into. We teach the golf swing as a dynamic whole mechanism where you train all the parts at one time. The way you do that is we have over the last 40 years, Danny and I have developed more than 130 different drills that we use to teach. And what the drills do is they work like a microscope or an MRI on your mechanics. All the drills are designed to threaten your body in one way or another. And when they either threaten your balance, they weaken you by taking one of your arms away, they bypass your proprioceptive capacity to find the ball with your arms. So by the way you can see, in order to hit a golf ball correctly, you need to have the whole mechanism orchestrated by part of your brain that can handle complex motor functions. Your cerebellum, your basal ganglia, your thalamus, your vestibular system, all the parts of your brain that teach us how to do amazing things without cognitive thought. Like if you look at a child when he first stands up to walk, he's gotten used to having his head in a certain position in space and he's crawling on all fours. Now, if it's whatever your viewpoint is, if you believe you have any monkey in your background anywhere, but we see other people standing upright, or maybe we see something high up that we want to get to and we stand up. Now, I believe if you raised a child with dogs and he never saw a human being, he might not ever get up. He'd stay on all fours. But standing upright and starting to move around on two legs is a very, very complex motor development. Mm-hmm. And yet, when we first stand up, when a child first stands up, how does he move?
Just centrifugal force. It's kind of like they just lean forward and try to follow.
Well, when he stands up and moves around, he toddles.
Right.
Okay.
That's the name toddler.
Yeah. So when you walk, why don't you still toddle?
Okay.
I'm asking you.
How do you know that I don't?
Well, maybe if you have a few shooters in the evening, you might. But the brain instinctively senses that toddling is a dangerous, inefficient way to walk. You're coming very close to the edge of falling every step you take.
Sure.
So without textbooks, without videotapes, without your mother saying, "Hey, Fred, you shouldn't walk that way. That's a dangerous, inefficient way to move." Your brain, over a period of time, changes your motor program and teaches you how to keep your center of mass in the center of your safety envelope so that you can function safely and efficiently as an upright animal. And that happens in a period of about a year. And same thing, a child, when he first gets on a bicycle, he's moving slow and the bicycle is shaky and wobbles. If you give him a little shove downhill on a golf fairway, the bicycle develops momentum, it stabilizes, and in 2 minutes he's on the handlebars. So what we do is to impose the same type of physical parameters on the student that he faced when he learned how to walk. And all these different drills put the body under various types of threats. And the big computer, I believe basically what happens once you learn to walk properly, your big computer that's in the back of your head, not the one we think with, the big computer back there kind of goes on cruise control. And it essentially lets you do pretty much what you want to, as long as you don't put your body under various threatening circumstances. All of our drills that we use to teach golf threaten the body, and it externally triggers the big computer in the back of your head to redirect the programming and teaches you. Our drills are designed to force you to learn to swing like Freddie Couples, even if you don't know what all the moving parts consist of. I mean, how many muscle groups are in your body? You got about 640 of them. And my guess is that I don't have any idea what the number is. Maybe 500 of those muscle groups participate in the golf swing in one way or another. Well, you don't want to be sitting there with a checklist of 500 different muscle groups that you have to perfectly orchestrate to hit a golf ball.
Although I've seen people who do that.
That's the way we try to learn the game. And you've got part of your brain that can handle the orchestration of all those parts simultaneously. I could send you some video of some of the drills that we do, and you just absolutely would be amazed at looking at them. We can take any person that's a healthy individual, and by teaching them how to move all their parts correctly, they'll be at professional level distance within 60 to 90 days. Anybody.
Wow.
Most people, when they learn to play golf, they're lucky if they can get to pro distance in a lifetime, much less 60 or 90 days.
I want to take another quick time out. We'll be right back. So gravity golf is not something you can watch a video on YouTube and go, okay, I got it, and move on, or have one lesson with somebody. Your gravity golf challenge, there's a lot of video instruction through that to walk you through.
Different drills that help you develop the sensitivity to doing this. We have people, though, all the time that have picked up the book, or there's actually people that learn it out of the book. Or they watch the videos, and all they have to do is go out and copy the drills when they do the drills. But one of the greatest benefits of gravity golf is that some of the most successful schools I've done in my lifetime have been with people from other countries that I could not dialogue with.
Really?
Yeah. I had a guy come to Arkansas when I had my teaching center up there. He came from Japan, brand new player. He spoke about as much English as I did Japanese. We had about a 20-word vocabulary between us. I put him in the drills and just worked with him on a monkey see, monkey do basis for 3 days. He went home and within 18 months won his club championship at Gross. At Gross.
Wow. That's a heck of a testimony.
Flew my wife and I to Japan and put us up over there for 2 weeks. We went all over the place.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, he set me up he was a publisher. He set me up with Japanese Golf Digest. They did a 13-page article that I have a copy of it, but I've never been able to read it. I don't know what they said about me. I'm afraid to know. So, it was this weird Americano doing
I could tell.
crazy looking drills.
Wow. Great, great stuff.
It's fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for discovering this.
Well, I was a kid when I grew up. My father and my grandfather were both clinical pathologists. My dad spent his and grandfather spent their lifetimes cutting up dead people to find out why they died.
That's where your science talk all comes from. Yeah, it's in your blood, huh?
My name was on the laboratory door when I was 3. There was no doubt what I was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I became a golf professional, my father and my grandfather were both highly PO'd. But I told my dad a number of times, I said, Dad, I'm a golf pathologist, so get off my case. We do the same thing. The only difference is that my students have some life left in them. Some of them do.
All right, before we go, because we've just run way beyond the time that we were supposed to do this, but I'm having too much fun. I'm going to give
you all night. What else do you want to talk about?
Well, we'll do this again. If you like doing this, I'll do this again. But I'm going to put you on the spot here. Hopefully not too much, and I'll give you an option. I want a story. Give me a story that pops into your head, whether it's Jack, Chi-Chi, or Lee Trevino, who all endorse Gravity Golf on your website. It's a wonderful thing. But, you said you played with those guys. You've known those guys. Give me a story. Give me one. Take your pick.
I'll give you a good Gary Player story. You want one of those?
Well, he's not on the list, but go for it.
Gary and I were playing at the TPC at Sawgrass one day, and we're on the 14th hole, that tough par 4, walking down the fairway, just the two of us playing. We had our caddies, and we started talking about people teaching the game. And Gary, he was a huge devotee of Hogan during his entire career. And we started talking about about teachers and who understood the game. And he looked at me, he says, David, he says, I think Ben Hogan knew more about the golf swing than any living human being. And I said, Gary, you are totally full of beans. Let's say beans. That's not what I said. And
Beep.
He jumped back and he says, why do you say that, Mom? And I said, well, think about it. Any man that could stand there and take a 1-iron and hit it 10 feet from the hole time after time after time after time and cannot walk up and knock the ball in the hole from 3 feet from the hole, there's something about handling the golf club the man doesn't understand. And he looked at me, he shook his finger at me, he says, putting's a different game. I said, all right, you're Gary Player, so you get the last word. But see, Hogan he ended his career with the Yips. So did Sam Snead. The Yips are one of the most devastating things that a person could ever run into. I was standing right there by the 18th green when Tiger Woods started yipping his pitch shots at Isleworth here, 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, you can remember Brandon Chamberlain talking about it on the Golf Channel, saying this guy's toast. Once you get the pitching yips, that it's like having the sword of Damocles hanging over you every time you step up to one of those real tight lie pitch shots on Bermuda grass where the grain's going into you. If you hit a quarter of an inch behind that thing, that ground will grab that golf club like a piece of flypaper, and it becomes very, very frightening. And if you understand what causes the yips and you know how to eliminate that ahead of time, you won't have any fear of those shots ever. You can absolutely fix the putting and chipping and pitching yips to where you never fear them again.
Amazing. So, I mentioned this to Danny when we were talking, and that so many of these instructors that I speak to, and I've spoken to a lot of them. A lot of them want to bring back Ben Hogan. I've discovered Ben Hogan's secret. I've got Ben Hogan's secret. You're not doing that. That's not a name that's coming up when we talk about gravity golf.
Hogan, believe me, and I'd say this right in front of Hogan. I knew Hogan. He used to send me students when I taught at Colonial. He loved the way the people that I taught moved. But I have never been a devotee of Ben Hogan. When he had an issue in his early career of taking the club back with his hands. That's why if you look into his first book called Power Golf, at the top of his backswing, he had the club pointed below where John Daly takes it back. He knew that club shouldn't go back that far because you try to move forward with the club down that far behind you, it creates a pitch out coming right off the change of direction. Hogan, when he first came on the tour, snap hooked the ball so badly they used to wait around to hustle him on Monday. And when he set out to fix the problem, the way he fixed it was he tied his right elbow to his side, figuring that if he kept the elbow tied to his side, the club would never drop below parallel in the backswing because it had hit him in the back before it did. So he actually made the elbow the shoulder. If you look at an arc size comparison between Hogan and Freddie Couples, Freddie's arc is a foot more than a foot larger in diameter than Hogan. So what Hogan lost in arc size, he made up for with a racquetball type slap coming into impact with his right hand. He had half the gravity swing. He had a great weight shift, but coming into impact, he took a lash at it with his right hand. That's why he said he wished he had 3 right hands. And Hogan had great set of hands and wrists and forearms. I've been teaching golf a long time. You take a woman and tie her elbow to her side, and she's got no strength in her hands and wrists and forearms, and you make her hit it from a Ben Hogan tied down elbow, she can't break an egg from that position.
Interesting.
You get a woman and let her swing the golf club to where she can get her arms up. So you don't hear people condemning the flying elbow anymore. There's too many good players out there letting it go. But if you're going to let your arms go way up there like that, it's imperative that you allow them to drop starting the downswing and not pull them from that height. All that extra leverage that's there to work for you in a big arc swing is potentially there to work against you if you abuse it. So it's a fabulous, fabulous tool. That's why tall players have a big leverage advantage in the golf swing, but they also get saddled up on the other side of the coin by having a greater responsibility to swing in a manner that maintains path integrity. So what is a blessing on one side of the coin becomes a liability on the other side, that you have to know how to handle that leverage. Otherwise, it becomes a liability. There's no free lunch.
So interesting. You're definitely coming back. I'm not going to let you get away with this. we're gonna have some more conversations down the road. I hope that's okay.
I've been studying this stuff for, golly, I've been studying the golf swing for 71 years since I was 4 years old. So,
wow. That's amazing. Well, thank you very much for sharing some of your experience and knowledge with us.
Well, you are quite welcome. Thank you so much for having me on, and I look forward to visiting with you again anytime you like.
An offer that I cannot refuse. And let me remind you that if you go to gravitygolf.com and click on the Gravity Golf Challenge, you receive 20% off on one of the 3 stages of the challenge, or purchase the All Access and get all 3 stages, and you still get 20% savings, which is around $100. Just make sure you use Golf Smarter when you sign up for the Gravity Golf Challenge at gravitygolf.com to receive your 20% discount. I teased you about this last week, and I did have the opportunity to play with a Golf Smarter listener who lives in the area. Bob reached out to me because about 4 years ago, he lost his vision to a rare disorder called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, which causes sudden severe loss of central vision. Now, Bob is legally blind, but he's not letting it get in his way. He competes in blind golf competitions. And along with his coach, guide, friend, Jerry, we had a great time together. I recorded a lot of our round, not all of it, just like when we met each other and then the first hole. And then we just played 9 holes, and then I recorded the bits and pieces of the back 9. And I recorded it both on audio and video. So you're going to be able to see some of the round, no pun intended, and you'll be able to hear Bob telling parts of his story. And I'm going to have that for you in a couple of weeks. But our next giveaway is coming up next episode. It's a free online swing assessment from our buddy Jeff Ritter. The winner will be able to upload their swing to an app called Coach Now, and Jeff will provide feedback and suggestions based on what he sees. If you missed our latest conversation with Jeff, which has received a lot of positive feedback, please check out episode number 706 a few weeks ago. Deadline to enter is Sunday, October 6, 2019, midnight Pacific time, 3 a.m. Eastern. Now to enter, go to golfsmarter.com and click on the giveaway banner at the top of the homepage, and all that information is going to be in the show notes for today's show. So just scroll down lower and you're going to be able to read it right there. Did you know that? You know that there's show notes for every episode? Not a lot of people realize that. Podcasting is wonderful. This week on Golf Smarter Mulligans, speaking about wonderful podcasts, sorry, we speak to Suzanne Noblet. Now, along with being one of Golf Range Magazine's top 50 instructors in America, Suzanne is also a 2-time LPGA Midwest Section Teacher of the Year. You know, golf instruction may get updated based on new equipment, but practice strategies and mental game strategies are always fresh and helpful. And that's what we talk about with Suzanne. It's the evergreen nature of these instructional episodes in our library, which are no longer available in all podcast aggregators. That's the reason Golf Smarter Mulligans was created. So get your free subscription to Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, just click on the Hey Fred button at golfsmarter.com.